If you're looking at moving to Idaho from California and you've been on the fence about making the move to Idaho, I just want to talk to you as a former Californian, born and raised in San Diego, and why I moved and why you should really consider making the move out of California if you've been sitting on that fence. And we're going to talk about a few different things in this video. First off, we just had the recent news, of course, the shocking news of President Trump nearly being assassinated and what that means, especially if you're planning on waiting until after the upcoming election in November to decide if you're going to move out of California. We're going to talk about some recent laws that were just passed that Governor Newsom signed into place. And we're going to talk about some more controversial issues around the issues of pro-life issues, abortion, and what that means for you if you care about pro-life issues. Let's get into the recent law that Governor Newsom signed. I talked about this months ago when this bill was pending, and there was a California state senator who warned if you care about your children, you should get your kids out of California.
If you love your children, you need to flee California. You need to flee. We are moving towards the pathway of the Handmaid's Tale. California is becoming the new Gilead. And it just breaks my heart. I'm born and raised in this state. I love this state. I'm not going to stay in this state because it's just too oppressive. And I believe in freedom. And so I'm going to move to America when I leave the legislature.
Governor Newsom has gone ahead and signed AB 1955. Well, this law bans local school districts from informing parents if their children are going through so-called gender affirmation surgery, gender transition, and it protects teachers and school staff from having to provide any kind of transparency, any kind of notification to children. They can use their preferred pronouns at school, change their clothes, provide puberty blockers, and help with surgeries, all without your knowledge or consent at all. This is what is happening in California. If your children are in public school, please get them out of the public schools in California and at least look at some other options, or get them out completely from California for your kids' sake and for your own sake. I'm going to touch a little bit on the tax situation regarding this and the morality of the taxes and the choices you have to make around these kind of transgender issues and abortion in just a moment. But just as comparison's sake, in Idaho, we do care about our children. We care about the future of our nation and not sterilizing and destroying our future generations. So we do have laws that have gone on the books in recent years that prevent things like puberty blockers from being administered to children, from sex change surgeries from occurring, and yes, requiring that children use the correct bathroom associated with their sex, with their gender. Now, I want to say these issues are not only inherent to California, they are everywhere. But there is a real fight on our hands, and you can win in Idaho. I was recently at a block party in the town that I live in, Nampa, Idaho, a suburb of Boise, much more conservative. I was walking by a political candidate's booth, didn't engage. I didn't know which party they were a part of. I just wasn't really interested in speaking with them. And the candidate came out and asked me, "Hey, are you a voter here in Nampa?" I said, "Well, yes, I actually am." She tells me that she's running for a House seat here in Idaho. And she says she's running because she's tired of the legislature in Idaho fighting a culture war on the backs of our children. And I stopped her and I said, "What exactly do you mean by that?" She said, "Our legislature is much more concerned about which bathroom our kids are using rather than more important things." So I stopped her there and I said, "Whoa, hold on a second. Are you telling me that you think that a boy should be able to use a girl's bathroom? Are you telling me that our children," I pointed to my 6-year-old daughter, "that she doesn't need to be protected from young boys and young men that want to go in and use her bathroom and potentially violate her?" I am friends with someone in San Diego, the gal who went to the YMCA, who had a man undressing in front of her and her younger teenage sister, and the YMCA in San Diego did nothing about it. This absolutely happens. I said, "Our children need protecting from things like that." And she looks at me and she said, "Our children don't need protecting from things like that." I said, "Thank you very much. I will not be voting for you. And now I know clearly where you stand on things." So this is going to happen everywhere. But in Idaho, there are laws on the books preventing these things, and we are fighting back and we are winning. I'm afraid that the fight in California is essentially over for these kinds of things. Elon Musk just pulled out of California. This breaking news that just happened. And he's pulling out his headquarters for Twitter, which is now X, and for Tesla, specifically over this last law. So I just beg you, if you care about your children, at least get them out of the schools and consider moving to another state where these protections are in place, like Idaho, or maybe Texas or Florida or Tennessee, depending on those specific laws. I know the laws here in Idaho because this is where I live. California also has workplace laws regarding transgender issues, and these are some specific things where, let me just say something real quickly. I think we should absolutely be kind to people that are struggling with this kind of thing. So I'm not here to discriminate against anybody. However, we need to live in truth and not live by lies. We should not be forced to lie to ourselves, to lie to our children, or to lie to anybody else. And that is what these laws are doing. Some of these transgender laws on the books require that you, in the workplace, use preferred pronouns of somebody who is, quote, transgender or gender non-conforming. So you're forced to lie to yourself and to others about who this person truly is. And of course, they're also allowed to use whatever bathroom they want. And obviously the risk here is not for females using males' bathroom. I see that at concerts, a woman will come into the male bathroom because the line is so long from the women's bathroom and no one cares. The risk, of course, is when males are going into female bathrooms. Let's be real about it. We all know that's true. Obviously, I'm fired up about this kind of stuff. These are the true issues that are facing our nation. This is what's facing the state of California. Again, I am from San Diego, a third generation San Diegan, and I moved to Idaho for a better way of life and to be in a state where I felt like we were winning and that we could actually have a chance and a way to make a difference and a model, not just for Idaho, but for the whole rest of the nation. Next up, we've got abortion. Obviously super controversial. There is huge split among the nation. I am avidly pro-life. My wife is avidly pro-life. And this is something that we really care quite a bit about. In fact, we actually donate to organizations that actively promote pro-life legislation, both here in Idaho and then, of course, more broadly beyond that. But California is an abortion sanctuary state. In fact, they have signed budgets that spend at least $200 million to promote and advertise abortions out of state for people to come into California to have those abortions, and they're funding their travel, their lodging, incidental expenses. Whereas Idaho has a heartbeat bill in place where at 6 weeks, or essentially when the heartbeat is detected, you cannot perform an abortion. Since that law went into effect following the fall of Roe, abortions in Idaho went from about 1,400 per year down to just 5. Now, of course, there are out-of-state abortions occurring still. We know that nationally, abortions have actually risen. However, in states like Idaho, they have fallen to 0. Now, yes, perhaps some of them are going to other states, unfortunately, and hopefully that stops. However, this is what I want to press upon you with regards to the taxes. Before Roe, we really did not have a choice in how our tax dollars were spent in regards to abortion. It was protected federally for people to have an abortion and kill their unborn child. We didn't have a choice where our tax dollars were spent. However, now that Roe has fallen, we really do have a choice how our states spend that money. In California, they clearly are actively spending tax dollars, your hard-earned tax dollars, not printed money from the government, because they can't print their own money like the feds can. They're spending your dollars in a budget deficit to fund out-of-state abortions and I believe in-state abortions as well. So your tax dollars are now actively going to that. You have a choice. Do you want your tax dollars to go for that? Or do you want to go to a state where your tax dollars absolutely will not go towards abortions? And if you know that they are going towards abortions and you know that you potentially could do something about that by making a move, at what point, you have to ask yourself, at what point do you become morally culpable in knowing that this is occurring, but you're not able to do anything about it? It might be time to pick up and move to another state where your tax dollars are not funding abortions and where they're not funding the trans issues that I discussed earlier. I know I'm bringing the heat today. I'm probably gonna piss a lot of you off. I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate comments down below, but we have to speak the truth. In times like this, we have to know the times that we are in, know the seasons that we are in. It is time to stand up wherever you are, whoever you are, and speak the truth. We can no longer live by lies. I get a lot of people that come to me that are looking to move to Idaho. I'm a local real estate agent helping people move here. And they say, I'm waiting until after the election in November because I want to see if Trump wins the election or not. Now, look, I'm all about you making a move based on your specific timelines. Everyone has their own situations. However, I want to address this. If President Trump wins, and frankly, it looks like he likely will after what happened with the attempted assassination, we saw what his true raw self was when he stood back up and said, fight, fight, fight. I'm not a Trumper by any means, but I'm a pragmatist and I know what his policies are versus the man, and I vote for those policies versus who he is. However, we saw at his core who he is, and he's gonna fight for the American people, and the groundswell of support has been overwhelming. So it seems like he's gonna win. That being said, what's gonna happen after the November election, specifically in California? You might be thinking, I'm safe now, everything's gonna be better in California. However, Trump has very little to do with what happens actually in California. Newsom has far more power over what's happening with the laws, along with the supermajority legislature of Democrats that are passing these bills. So you're still going to be stuck with Governor Newsom. You're still going to be stuck with the supermajority of Democrats in power in California, and potentially your local elections with your city council districts, of course. So you really have to look at that. Are you able to turn the tide in your specific city, in your state, in California? And will things actually get better if President Trump gets reelected this year? I don't think they're going to get better in California. If anything, I think Governor Newsom and the legislature will probably double down in defiance, right? So just ask yourself those questions. Will things get better with Trump elected or not? Will things be better with still having Newsom and the supermajority of Democrats in power in California? Or is it time to pick up and move? That's the decision you got to make for yourself. I'm not here to tell you what you should do. But again, I'm here to speak truth and have you make your own decisions. I know that was a lot of fire in today's video. If you liked it, hit that like button, hit subscribe. Let me know what you think. If you are looking to make the move to Idaho, specifically the Boise, Idaho area, I do help people relocate all the time. I'd love to help you. Contact information's on the screen and the description below. If you're looking to make the move to Idaho and you want to explore more about the Treasure Valley, the Boise, Idaho area, all you got to do is watch this video right here where we dive into more detail, and I'll see you on the next video.